So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is about Update 6, because a lot of people have been asking about it. Like, what's the plan? Now you're back. Like, what's going to happen with Update 6? When is it coming out in EA? Do we have a date? What's going on? Wait, I need to update the agenda. How to do this again? There we go. I think this is pretty much why I wanted to boot up the stream, essentially, just give some news as to what's going on. So we don't have a date. Nope. We've got a couple of things that before we can sort of decide on a date that we can publicly tell you guys. It's not gonna be too far off though. We just got back from vacation, and people are sort of getting back into the jam, figuring out like what's going on, what happened while we were gone, because some people worked during vacation, some people are taking the vacation now. But now most of the studio is back now, essentially. And we're working on a couple of different things. Some of us are working on, part of us already were working on, stuff that weren't related to Update 6. And I talked about this in the first video I put out about Update 6, how, this is a minor update or a smaller update or whatever you want to call it, is because, most of the people working on Update 6, some people are working on Update 6, some people are working on other things that will take longer to do than, in the general, like, interval between updates. So this is why this update is a bit smaller scaled. And, some people are now start moving over to the new stuff, and some people are working on patching up Update 6. And we are gonna start rolling out patches again soon-ish on Experimental. Last patch we rolled out, I think, was in July something, right? That's the date. So hopefully next week we will start rolling out some fixes. We've done a couple of fixes to creatures while we were gone that will hopefully resolve some of the issues. And there's a couple of other things that we've been fixing. And hopefully we'll have time to fix some of the more like long-term issues that we've had in the game that we've always wanted to fix. And hopefully that will be ironed out soon-ish. So yeah, but we don't know exactly when Update 6 will be ready for EA, because this is the thing I wanted to talk about too, was that we're getting back into the groove, right? And we have like a QA section. Believe it or not, but Confidence do have QA people working for us, and they didn't start until this week. So like everything that we've been working on for Update 6 up until this point hasn't been like gone through the QA like testing and stuff like that. Like, if you think the game is buggy when you play it on Experimental, you have no idea. Like, holy shit. It can get so much worse. So we haven't been able to, like, test the work that we've been doing, up until this point. That's sort of the work that we're doing this week. So this week we can hopefully figure that out. But also, some of our QA leads and stuff are, at conferences, so they're also not here. But hopefully next week we'll see some patches rolling in. And then I think one big thing for us is once we've started rolling out like those patches and the fixes that we've done to Update 6, then we have a better understanding of like sort of where we stand with Update 6 and what we have left to do for Update 6 essentially. And that will give us a better understanding of when we feel Update 6 will be available on EA. So, what month is it now? It's August, right? So my guess is sometime September, sometime hopefully not too late, but you never know. Anything can happen. It's January? No, it's not. That's a lie. So sometime I think that was what we said. No, maybe we didn't say anything like that before. I think we just said like a couple of months. Well, I got a text from my dad. What do you want? I think we said before vacation that Update 6 is a bit different compared to other updates. This is an update that instead of sort of, it's a smaller update. it's a more prolonged update because we sort of released it before it was ready and before it was done, and it's still not fully finished. So we're still working on some of the major things that are tied into what we need to finish up with update 6, essentially. The biggest one being creature AI and the navigation system, which apparently was a bigger undertaking than we anticipated. Even when, because we had a bunch of issues where when we test stuff internally, we usually play the game in the editor when we tested. Apparently there was a bunch of bugs with how we packaged the game, like when we compile it and put it into a binary and like upload it. So like a lot of stuff we were testing when we were developing it weren't present until we put it like on Steam or Epic and stuff like that. So we were a bit surprised as to like why certain issues arose, and they were quite difficult to like nail down why they were happening, because we couldn't like debug the build in the same way, because when we were testing it, everything was working, and then but we were keep getting reports from people being like, but it's not working, like this thing isn't working with creatures, and apparently it had something to do with something with how we packaged the game and stuff like that. And the annoying thing was that it wasn't really like, there wasn't any issues with like the AI like code per se. It had something to do with like the navigation system that's like underlying. So like the AI worked perfectly fine when we were testing it, and you know, we were super stoked. And then when we put it out in the world, it just didn't do what we wanted it to do. So that was one of the like biggest setbacks that we've had with update 6, essentially, and that's why it took a bit longer to get it out. And so another thing I also want to talk about while we're talking about creatures. So the original plan when we were developing update 6 was that we wanted to sort of finish up like the creature overhaul that we been working on. I talked about this in the video, but I thought I'd just sort of revamp it a little bit so you guys, you know, it's been a while, so maybe you don't remember, and I'd just add a couple of things here. So the idea was that we wanted to sort of do an overhaul of the creature, the creature AI, and also like some aspects of like how, you know, certain creatures have different behavior in certain areas. We wanted to make it so that when you're exploring the planet, you know, some enemies wouldn't be necessarily more difficult, but they would be different, you know? So, you know, sort of some of the different areas in the planet would be more intended for like end game, and you know, some areas would be intended like, oh, maybe you don't want to go back here until you get the Xenobasher, or maybe you want to go back in when you have like Noblix and stuff like that, because the behavior changes things up. And the goal was to sort of wrap everything into a neat package when it came to that in update 6 and finish it up. But since we ran into these like issues that we didn't like really anticipate when it came to the AI and the navigation system, you know, that kind of work got prolonged. And then we also had, you know, I mentioned this in the video, but we have an idea to introduce at least one new creature that we haven't teased until now. I know people are like, where's the crab? Where's the big crab? And like, that's coming, but that's later. That's a different case here that I'm not talking about here. We have at least one more creature that we haven't unveiled yet. And that creature, we felt like, we kind of want to finish it up a bit more before we actually unveil it, because it is kind of cool. So we decided to like push that a little bit. So what you sort of got in update 6 was sort of like maybe half or 2/3 of what we wanted to put out in update 6 originally. You know, that's sort of the nature of game dev, I guess, that, you know, you plan for one thing and another thing happens, essentially. So so that's sort of the state of things. And we sort of decided, you know, originally we thought that we were gonna keep working on that stuff in experimental, and then we were hoping we'd be able to finish that up so that like, oh cool, we finished that up, and then we package it and then put it on EA, right, on early access branch. So but unfortunately we feel like it's a bit too much work, and we feel like if we do pursue that path, then we're gonna keep update 6 in like experimental state for way too long, we feel like, than what it's worth. You know, people are already kind of like, where's update 6? Like, I can't see it on EA and I don't want to play the buggy version. And so we're feeling like maybe we should do sort of like a thing where we wrap up what we have right now, and, you know, patch it up and make it more stable. And then we'll push that out to early access, and then we'll keep working on that stuff later down the line. And we'll see how it goes with if we do, you know, like if we keep like pushing that stuff on experimental and, you know, post update 6 sort of updates, or if we like feel that we're working on stuff, and then like, oh, maybe this is like a new update, or maybe we should do an update 7 with the stuff that we have left, or something like that, or do a, you know, people refer update, people call it like update 6.5, which, you know, the little nerd in me, the little nerd that cares so much about semantic versioning, is like, that's wrong. Because that's not how semantic versioning. But the entail, like it's like the add-on on update 6, if you will, or whatever. That could be a thing, right? So you know, maybe we'll keep working on update 6 even though it's out, you know, on early access. We'll still keep adding on to that update, or maybe it'll be a later update. We don't know at this point. We'll keep you guys in the loop as to what we decide, because we still sort of need to at least put out the updates that we have right now that we were working on up until this point for update 6, so we can get sort of an estimate like how we're actually doing project-wise. So that is essentially the big deal for update 6 right now. Hopefully that made sense, because I feel like I rambled. Blah blah blah. Yeah, update 6 final, exactly. So TLDR, everything we plan to do with creatures, we didn't manage to fully finish it, and we feel like if we're gonna finish it, then update 6 is gonna be very prolonged. So we feel like it's better to sort of wrap up what we have right now, put out update 6 on early access, and then keep working on it and see how it goes, see what we do, to be decided what we do, you know, with the stuff that's left, that we wanted to put out for update 6, essentially. And hopefully soon, hopefully next week, might be the week after, we'll start doing that. We'll start rolling out patches again on experimental and see how it goes. But before we do that, currently we're doing our internal QA to make sure that it's like worth putting it out on the experimental branch, because sometimes there are some, you know, so obvious issues with the game that it's not like really worth it for us to put it out on experimental. Sometimes, well, like the biggest thing for us to put on experimental is really to like catch all the weird cases, and like, you know, there's so many of you, there's thousands of you, and there's only like so many of us on the team. So even if we spend like weeks testing something, just putting out on experimental for like a weekend, you guys will still catch more things. But we just want to make sure that like we're at least not putting out like a way too broken version of the game. Which has happened sometimes, and sometimes we've had to do a rollback because we feel like it's not even worth waiting for the next patch in those cases. So yeah, that's essentially the TLDR. But I kind of touched a little bit of that. I want to boot up Paint here, because I think I want to clarify something that I think I didn't communicate well enough during the update 6. Like, we call it teaser season, but it's not really teaser season this time because we told everything about update 6. But like the period from when we announce update 6 and what will be to like when we actually release it. And it was something that I feel like I didn't communicate well enough. So let me see. This is completely, I haven't planned for this actually, so I need to figure out what do I do here. I can probably add a thing here in the scene, window capture. And we'll capture Paint. Cool, dude. This is so stupid. And then we'll put this here, right? And then zoom in a little bit. Just a little bit. Cool. All right, cool. And then we switch to that scene. All right, cool. Muted. Shut up. Okay, so one thing that I really want to clarify here is sort of what's been going on in the studio in like more the macro sort of sense, because we've only been talking about like update 6 and what's going on to update 6, what are we working on up to 6, blah, 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 blah. But the thing that I think many people didn't realize is that you know, the people who've been working on update 6 is not the entire studio. Like I don't know how many per se, but like it's been there's many tracks going on at the same time. So that's what I want to try and clarify here exactly, you know, how that is overlaid, right? So how does this work again? Cool. I want a thicker line, right? So okay, up until this point, essentially how we've been working is we have our like production. We'll just do production line, and then we have our world team, right? So production line is everyone working on like updates for the game. So for update 4 and 5, you know, we're working on this includes everything. So it's like pre-production of the update. What are we gonna make for the updates? How much, you know, estimates of like how much work is that, and that involves the entire like, well, not the entire, because as you see, there's another branch here, but for the most part, the most like production team essentially. So it's artists, it's programmers, it's producers, it's, you know, me and Jace as well to a certain degree. So that's sort of what's happening there, right? And then we have the world branch, which is our level design team. So it's like Hannah for the most part, but there's also other people involved here. And at certain points, we decide, okay, cool. Now we need to merge in the world part into the production line. So, you know, at a certain point in time, I mean, not a thick line, you know? So at a certain point in time, we decide, all right, let's take everything that's on the world branch and move it over to the production branch, right? And that's essentially what happened in update 5 with Northern Forest. And that's what happened with this update with the Spire Coast, right? But, and there's always a but, okay? Let me move this down. So actually, no, it's easy if I do it this way. But during, let me actually make a little mark here. Which one is it? Okay. So let's say that this, where's that thing? So professional. I could have planned this ahead, but I kind of decided like 5 minutes before the stream started, like, no, I'm going to explain this actually. Because I wanna, okay? So I'm going to keep drawing the lines here. So this is, we're moving towards working in the game. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So here's update 5, okay? Update 5, right? At this point in time, we had merged world into production. And you know, the other thing too is like production also goes live, right? So it's a separate branch because you have the live branch as well. But let's just keep it simple for now. So this is, people are working on update and then we merge everything over, right? At this point in time is when we decided that when we're working on stuff for the updates and when we're working on the game and we're taking like a step back, sort of like, if we're gonna finish the game for 1.0, what do we need to do to actually finish it? Because it felt like we're constantly moving the goalposts as to like what a finished version of Satisfactory would look like. So we kind of took a step back here and thought to ourselves, like, what do we need to do to actually accomplish 1.0? And one thing that we realized is that up until this point, we've only worked on features for the game that we can finish within the time frame, right? So let me go back here. So like this is update 4. And you know, we don't really have any like set time frames or anything like that, you know, and hopefully we're kind of obvious about that since we never know when we're doing things. You know, people in the best of worlds, we would put out updates all the time, but you know, it takes time. So up to this point, we always thought like, okay, what can we create in between here, right? In this time span, in this rough time span. This isn't like this isn't the decided like 6 months. How much can we produce in 6 months? This is just like a rough like in between, right? And then we list like, oh, we can make this, we can make this, we can make this, and we can make this, right? And then we're cool. Which ones do we want to do? And then we pick like, we're gonna do this one, and we're gonna do this one, and we're gonna do this one for this next update. Awesome. Let's work on that. Cool. Fantastic. And then sometimes we prototype it, and then we realize that was a bad idea. Let's scrap that and work on something else on the list, right? But one thing we kind of realized was that if we want to finish the game and we want to reach 1.0 at some point, we can't keep doing that because there's a bunch of tech debt is a term where, you know, if we want to finish something for the next update, we can't take like our full time and finishing like a system. We have to sort of just make it work for the next update, and then we'll come back to it and fix it, you know, for 1.0, which isn't really a good way to do it. So what we sort of decided was that, or realized, if anything, is that we have to sort of commit to things that take longer to produce than what it takes to work on in between the updates. So at this moment, this is the crucial moment where suddenly a new branch appeared, right? And this is the, I don't know what to call this, production 2. 2.0. This is so good looking. Branch, right? This is good in a nutshell. So what they're working on is not limited to the time frame that it takes for us to make an update, right? So when update 6 hits, update 6, you know, World Branch merges into production, and this is the thing that goes live. Whoa, here it goes live. Whoa, look at it go. Oh my God, it's full control. But this branch, this bad boy here, just keeps chucking on, working on stuff, you know, making things, making cool stuff that you guys haven't seen yet, and working towards the 1.0 release. So the idea is that when something is finished here, right? Let me just erase this again. God damn it. More lines. You don't have enough lines. So the idea is, right, that when something, it might not be like everything here, because in contrast to the World Branch, because the World Branch really is like we're taking everything and pushing it over to the production line. But when, you know, something like we cherry pick, right? When something cool in production 2.0 is done, that goes into production or the live branch or whatever. And that might be, I don't know. And it might be the case actually that this is for 1.0, you know. All right. So that's a, hopefully that made sense. My very beautiful diagram and everything. Yeah, so what I wanted to, the main thing that I want to emphasize right here is like, you know, while we've been working in update 6, which is this period right here, right? This is the time frame since update 5 and since update 6. You guys have only seen this, right? There's been this going on as well, okay? So yeah. And that is like the main reason why this update is smaller, is because you've only seen this, right? And I don't want to like play it up as like, oh, there's so much more you guys haven't seen. Oh my God. It's not like that really. It's more about like how there's more going on, and there's stuff going on in this branch specifically that's tied into like the 1.0 release that you won't see until 1.0, such as like story related stuff and well, yeah, mainly story related stuff, but like stuff that we don't want to put out before 1.0 because we feel like, what is the point, you know? Because like story elements, for instance, regardless of how much the story actually plays an effect in the game, you know, we don't really see a point in like putting that out iteratively. We'd rather just put it out in one go, and you guys can experience the story as in one go rather than just like do it in bits and pieces. So yeah, hopefully that made sense. I should probably explain that in a YouTube video, and maybe not do it in Paint. Because this was really like this is the heat of the moment. But hopefully that made sense, and hopefully you guys know. And I kind of mentioned this just in the first video. So yeah, there we go. Paint made everything better for sure. Paint skills acceptable. Oh my god. I finally made it. So yeah. Cool. Oh, wait. We actually have one more thing. One more branch. Let me go back to this. I forgot about it. Somebody reminded me. We also have a branch called Steady Servers. Right? That's also running in parallel with all of these. And that one works similar. So it goes from production to that branch, right? So for update 5, that's actually when we made that. But for update 6, for instance, like we take stuff from the production branch and move it into the dedicated server branch, essentially. And this one, yeah, runs in parallel, so it's not part of like necessarily the regular production line. And this is also experimental. Warning, experimental. Okay. You're on your own, okay? Until we get to a point where we feel like this is actually pretty good now. Important to note. Because there's a lot of issues that happen only on dedicated servers, and it's hard for the rest of the team. Expensive, that's what it is. There's a bunch of stuff happening just on dedicated servers that, you know, the rest of the team can't really like look into. It's more for the people who are working on dedicated servers to look into. And that makes it so that production, like development on that branch is slower. And you know, sometimes the people who are working on dedicated servers have to jump over to like update 6 related stuff or the update that we're working on because time frame, or like we need to put stuff out, or there's something related to what they've been working on, essentially. So yes. Experimental. So yes. Priorities, exactly. So there you have it. Did any of that make sense regarding update 6? When is update 6 coming out, you guys? This is on the test. You all failed. Nope. Okay, no, yeah, no, that's the good answer. Tomorrow? No, okay, you weren't paying attention. I don't know, I just got here. God damn it. 21st century? Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, sometime in the future. That's for sure. Spanish tomorrow. I can't believe I studied Spanish for 4 years and I barely know how to say anything. I can't even like. I can't say anything. It's so funny. So yeah, TLDR. If you just joined, update 6. We're working on patching up update 6 and releasing it on EA. Hopefully, we will be able to have it ready sometime in the next month. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe. It depends a little bit of how the next round of like experimental patches go, which we're releasing soon-ish, next week maybe. So yeah, another month. We haven't been working on it for like almost a month and a half. Well, it's like half of the team went on vacation early. So, but it is what it is. But no one's. This is a dead game anyways. No one's playing it. So why would anyone want? Well, would anyone miss anything update 6 related? Yeah, we weren't working. We were just looking. We were just staring. We were just on Twitter all day long, just staring on stuff. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Just turn off my light instead. All right. That's the key takeaway. I stalled. This is the longest state of dev I think we've ever had. The biggest state of stall. So yeah.